Now more than ever, Lowe's knows you don't just want a low price, you want the lowest price. And with our lowest price guarantee, you can count on us for competitive prices on all your home improvement projects. If you find a qualifying lower price somewhere else on the same item, we'll match it. Lowe's, we help, you save. Price match applies to same item, current price at qualifying retailers. Exclusions and terms apply. Learn how we'll match price at lowes.com/lowest price guarantee.
You're a SaaS founder, you've built something solid, but growth still feels harder than it should. Most SaaS companies don't fail because of bad tech. They fail because they've never become a must-have to the right customer. This podcast is here to change that. I'm Ton Dobbe, and this is the Remarkable SaaS Podcast. Every week I talk to founders in the trenches, facing friction, making bold moves, and building companies that last. We dig into real choices around focus, positioning, customer pool, team alignment, the things that separate forgettable software from the ones that people can't live without. No hype, no hacks. Just honest conversations to help you build something that people would miss if it was gone. If your SaaS should be indispensable but isn't yet, this is your podcast. Let's get into it. The guest on my podcast this week is Quentin de Quelen, co-founder and CEO of MeiliSearch.
Open source should not be by default, it should be thought as a strategy also for your company to grow, because everything we are doing at the end is for business.
That's Quentin. We dig into how we chose simplicity over feature bloat to build a search engine developers actually want. You'll hear how giving away the product for free eliminated enterprise competitors, and why 3 simple rules beat complexity roadmap debates. It's a sharp conversation about strategic thinking and what happens when you stop trying to please everyone. Well, hello, Quentin. Thank you for making the time available today and being the guest on the podcast.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, pleasure. For some reason, there's a sort of a wave of open source type companies on the podcast recently, which I like, and it brings a different perspective. So I've been preparing, reading into what you've been doing and what you've been accomplishing. I got a couple of questions in relation to that. I think we are like-minded on a number of things, but that will come up during the call as well. Before we start talking about your company, MeiliSearch, what drives you? What gives you energy as a CEO or as an entrepreneur?
Very personal question as first. I like it. What gives me energy? For sure, it's building for something that matter. And I've been a shipper since my old days. When I was young, I was building houses, and now I am building software. And I'm not anymore coding, but still building a company. And I think I love to build. I love to build something that can bring something to people, either the employees, the user, or the consumer. And I think it's also part of why we did buy open source and why we are doing everything. I want to have the maximum of impact on people's life. I know that search is not saving lives, but still I know that having a good search could help a lot of people not having troubles typing or doing some stuff on internet. And that's something I take really hard in my heart.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the beautiful bridge to your company. You founded the company, from what I saw, September 18. Just for my audience, a little bit like, in a nutshell, what does MeiliSearch? What is it all about?
MeiliSearch is a software that allows a company to create a bridge between their data and their user or customers. Basically, the most famous use case of this is you are in e-commerce, you have some product on your catalog, and you want to make those products accessible to your customers. You are creating an interface, an e-commerce platform where people will be able to search and find some product to buy. But it could be also the case for any kind of other use cases. If you are doing customer support, you have a knowledge base, you need a search on it. If you are building a SaaS application, like for example, a CRM application, you will need to have a search to find the people, the company, etc. So what MeiliSearch does is that it takes all those data and provide multiple ways for users to access it. It could be via search, it could be via recommendation API, discovery, etc., or very soon via chat.
Good. Okay. So it's not like a pre-built application. It's more of an application or an API that you provide to other software builders that can then accelerate that part of the journey.
Exactly. It's a solution or a platform that could be used to build a company or a project.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So you started this in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are plenty of search engines on the market or search technologies on the market, and I think today with all the generative AI, I mean, the last time I Googled is possibly weeks, maybe months ago. So this of course is changing rapidly. But back in the days, 2018, what was the problem that you saw that was screaming for something new? What wasn't available then that everybody was asking for?
Basically, back in 2018, myself and my two partners were working in a very, very big French marketplace. I was specifically working on the search engine because I had like 90% of the first people arriving on the website at search, and the second day they had only 5%, something like this. I'm doing approximation, but still the search was not working at all. So I had to work on the search. And to work on the search, I had to do my benchmark. And on the benchmark, I saw that there were a huge gap between having something such as Elasticsearch, Solar, or Lucene that were super hard to maintain, super hard to configure, and impossible to have a very fast and accurate result with. And the only viable choice in front of that was simple, fast, accurate, etc., was Algolia. But Algolia was also super expensive and a black box. For many reasons, it was not suitable for this company. So we figured out that if this big French marketplace that we were working on was not convinced by those two big solutions that was existing in the world, perhaps there were a place for a third one. And it was quickly proven because when we released MeiliSearch, after less than a week, we had a contract with Louis Vuitton in France, and then we had this huge growth on the open source side. Everyone was super happy with having MeiliSearch as a newcomer, so we can say that the world was needing it. But the bet we took was to combine, in fact, the best of both worlds between Elasticsearch and Algolia, bringing the open sourceness and the customization of Elasticsearch, but with the ease, the performance, and the relevancy of Algolia. And making this mix created a unique opportunity to have something that can help any kind of businesses to have a very good search experience within their website or application under 5 minutes. And that's what we try to do with MeiliSearch. And now it's going even further. It was, like you mentioned, it was nothing about AI back in 2018, but now it is. And we want to have exactly the same impact with AI. We want to make AI accessible for everyone. And today, there is not a lot of people that know what to do with AI. So what we try to build is solution and platform that can be easily handled by company to empower the users during their journey, whatever it is, buying journey or user journey into their applications.
Cool. Thanks for that explanation. It's interesting how things start by, well, there are options, and options are meeting requirements, but then there is this gap in terms of, okay, what do I want to pay for this? Or what can we pay for this? And then, yeah, that opens the door for people that can, I hate this word, but disrupt that part of the market. What I also like about what you're just saying is that you took what they were doing really well and sort of amplified it with something that was a constraint maybe on their side. So you can create something that people, and it opens people's eyes where they say, wow. And that's also something that I read in my preparation for you. You're obsessed with delivering a wow experience for developers.
Yes.
I mean, I wrote my book, The Remarkable Effect, which is, kind of written around what do those software companies that people like we start talking about and keep talking about, what do they do different? So how do you design for that? Is it constantly on your mind? It's like, okay, everything we ship needs to have a wow experience?
No, it's not how we see it. It's just that we are convinced that message should be based on three main key pillars. The
Yeah.
first one is simplicity. It should be super accessible for anyone, from new developers to all developers that have a lot of knowledge, but also by a vibe coder now, but also perhaps by someone in the future that is absolutely not a coder. So the simplicity is very crucial for us. That's what I claim being able to put message on a website in 5 minutes is something we are claiming in the facts for big production applications. It's we are able to put it in less than 2 weeks with all the checks, etc. So it's going quite fast. The second one is performance. We want to have the best performance possible, being able to answer in less than 50 milliseconds to have this instantaneously impression when you type something. But the same for full text search, but also for AI driven search. So it's a lot of there is a lot of question about how do we make this possible in with AI, and we found a way. And the third pillar for us is about relevancy. And I think it's something that is very difficult to see at first. So it's less about the wow effect, because it's very hard to see when a search is relevant. It's just that when you type something, you should find what you are looking for. Even if you are using the wrong word, etc., you should always find something, and you should always have happy users that are telling you like your search is working. It's perfect. And we are putting a lot of pressure for excellence for those three main topics.
Let me make a small interruption here. Quentin made an excellent remark that sets his solution apart from conventional feature bloat. Doubling down on three key pillars: simplicity, performance, and relevancy. 3 rules, every decision, no exceptions. This eliminates the endless debates that kill most products. And this is what remarkable software companies do. They acknowledge they cannot please everyone. They focus on the essence, and they surprise and hit the right nerve. Want to master these traits as well? Simply read my book. I've made the electronic version available for free. Just visit theremarkableeffect.com to grab your copy, and inspiration will spark within 10 minutes. Back to the interview. Exactly. Well, you say simplicity and performance, and these, of course, they are judgmental, but relevance, I think, is one of maybe the most important one for you.
Mm-hmm.
If relevance is good, either simplicity or performance can even be at a lower level. But relevance at the end, I think, particularly for what you do, is strong. What I also like about this sort of three word principle is that for everybody in your company, the only thing they have to do is check those 3 points, and if something they're building is matching that, they're good to go. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I think people are challenging themselves to follow those three main pillars. And every time we have someone new in the team, they have to learn quickly how it goes.
Exactly. Yeah. So 2018, the AI was, of course, coming up. There wasn't really like this big wave yet with the generative AI or agentic AIs. These days, there's a lot of hype around that. Still, you had a lot of technology available. What I'm always fascinated by is, okay, what were those early decisions that you took that have been more or less, fundamental for the success that you have right now? Was there any of those choices that you say, hey, that really made a difference for us?
Definitely open source has been key in our
Yeah.
success because when we announced after a few months of development that the project was open source, and we like announced it on Hacker News or Product to say like, hey, we are an alternative to Elasticsearch that doesn't need any configuration. We had like a huge amount of love and people testing it and people giving us feedbacks. And this was only possible with open source because the product was, to be honest, not finished. It was only like the beginning. But because it was open source, people were capable of testing it. Even if it was not perfect, they were capable of giving us advice or just contributing also to the projects. And it helped us to create a community to create awareness around the product, etc. And then I would say like perhaps a few choices, technologic choices, like being built in Rust or that kind of thing. But I think definitely the biggest has been to be open source, and for sure, I always forget, but it's a key component, the people we hired.
Yeah, I saw that later on. I got a question on that as well. But on the open source side, were you initially considering closed source or commercial path with a product that wasn't where you don't share the source code?
It's a big question, I think, for most of the people that are not super deeply involved in open source. And I think it's normal and it's good to share that indeed open source is a path to monetization too. There is multiple way to monetize over open source. One of the biggest one is open core. Like you are shipping most of the product in open source, but you are adding some key component made for enterprise that are under different license that people should pay for having access to them. There is a lot of very well-known application. Elasticsearch was doing this during a long time before going their cloud. Coming to the second point, one of the new and very trendy way for open source project to do monetization is to have a cloud where you can first host and remove all the burden of maintenance of your product. So for a database like MeiliSearch is kind of like a database. It could be compared to a database. It could be very complicated to maintain over time, to do the updates, to manage the security patches, etc. So a cloud version make it way easier. But on top of this cloud version, you can also release additional capabilities that will make everything just smoother, better, or give more power to not only developers, but also to business people. Today, we are putting a straight line on MeiliSearch to say like everything that is helping developers to build a search interface or a chat interface should be open source. And everything that is helping a business to grow their revenue or to grow their application or whatever should be either on a second license that we don't have today, so it doesn't work like this, but at least should be only available on the cloud. So everything that is about scalability, security, or additional syntactic sugar that could help people to reach business objective faster should be put under the cloud and not necessarily on open source, because like individual developers don't care about having SSO security stuff. They just care about being able to have a very performant, fast, and relevant search engine on their website.
Exactly. Yeah. Makes sense. I like the distinction between and how simple you can explain it to people also when you start paying, the moment the business start benefiting from it. Obviously, there's great terrain there because if you give the tools to developers where they can develop fantastic tools that can also have a commercial benefit, of course. But then again, then come things in place like it needs to start scaling for more users because of the popularity, and there you go. Nice. Possibly I think it also open source, that whole conversation around whether to not open source is also very tied to your target audience, right? Developers.
Yes.
Makes a lot more sense there.
Yeah, definitely. But I don't want to people think that everyone should be open source. I think open source should not be by default. It should be thought as a strategy also for your company to grow, because everything we are doing at the end is for business wise, because when you are building an open source project, you also want to have a healthy business on top of it to make sure that you will be able to continue to contribute, etc. So for us, we saw open source more as a way of sharing this technology to everyone, even people that don't have money to pay or that are not big enough, because our main goal, as I explained before, is really to make such a good search experience accessible for everyone, and open source is part of this. Today we don't have a freemium on our cloud version, so for us open source is like a good path for people that don't want to pay.
Exactly. Yeah, that's correct. Talking about that, in the work that I do, what I typically see is, of course, you can have a product, and typically, of course, a lot of people can use it or could potentially use it. The question is whether they should, or whether you actually want to attract those type of people, because it can either bring you or lose you a lot of money. So how do you go about segmentation in this case? Because you build a search engine or a search technology. I can imagine that there are industries where you solve a much more valuable and critical pain point from, for example, here than, for example, there. How do you go about that?
Indeed. And I will be fully honest with you, it's one of the biggest challenge at creating something like MeiliSearch that is super agnostic. We have a lot of different use cases. We have hundreds of different use cases. But today we still can see that there is some few of them that are super deep with MeiliSearch and that we are seeing a lot. Even if they are not exactly the same, they can be answered the same. Mostly the bigger one are digital commerce, everything, e-commerce, marketplaces, those kind of things, very huge traction on it. A new one that is also mostly becoming famous with RAG and everything that is around chat is customer support, being able to deflect the support to an AI agent or to make people being able to find the result by themselves. And another one we are seeing growing, but today that is probably half of the people that are coming to MeiliSearch are SaaS application, so B2B or B2B applications that need to have a search platform like MeiliSearch at the heart of the product. Imagine any kind of product such as CRMs or applications such as Slack, Notion, all of them. They all have a search engine. They all have the same changes. And the cool part is that even if they are not exactly the same businesses, they have the same needs at the end.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, you already started mentioning a couple of use cases or areas of use cases, which of course also means competition. Because you're not the only one. I think I've had at least 2 or 3 companies in the search space on the podcast over the last 7-8 years. Possibly maybe more the last year or 2 years. And like I said, everybody is now using all these tools like ChatGPT and I mean, Perplexity is one of them that I use quite a lot. It's all about search at the end. How do you differentiate? Like, what have you learned over the last 2-3 years that you had to do differently to stand out?
So it's really important to do the distinction first between ChatGPT and Perplexity and search engines like MeiliSearch, Elasticsearch, Algolia, or even the full vector ones like Pinecone, Qdot, etc. Where it's like comparing Google and Algolia, MeiliSearch, or Elasticsearch. You have the search interface, Google or ChatGPT, whatever, that are finding information online on internet. And then most of the time it was even more obvious with Google, and we don't know yet today how it will change with ChatGPT. But at the end, you were landing on a website, and the goal was to continue to have the user on this website and to keep it on your website by bringing a new experience of search, of discovery of content on your website that will make sure that the user can find what they are looking for on your website and not going back on Google. Because I think it's one of the biggest challenges that will come also with ChatGPT. People should know that if they stay on ChatGPT or if they stay on Google, there is 100% chance that next hit, they are going to a new website. Whatever you are paying for being promoted or whatever, if people are continuing the discussion with ChatGPT or if they are continuing to search on Google, you have a lot of chances that they are going somewhere else. So at any point, you have to keep the user experience tied to your business. And it's something key, probably something people are forgetting right now because everyone is so much into like, let's be into ChatGPT, how to make our application tied to ChatGPT. And we can see that there is already some brands that are affiliated to ChatGPT. How it will move, we don't know yet. But I'm convinced that it will be a disaster if all the large language model and AI, like those one, will be the future central point of everything. They will be crawling websites all day long. It will be very costly for the company. They will have absolutely no power and no control over what they promote and what is the experience. That's why we created search engines like almost 20 years ago to be able to provide a very good and personalized experience within the website. Because something we forgot is like if ChatGPT is going to a website, crawling your pages and promoting product for you, you have no control about what you want to promote. And every merchant, but the same for customer success platform with FAQ and stuff, everyone that manage content want to have the hand on what they can promote, what they have to demote based on the users, and they want to personalize the experience for each users. And I'm kind of afraid of everyone moving to ChatGPT and Perplexity and completely delegate this part to those platforms because we don't know what they will do with this power,
Sure.
and we don't know how it will become in the future. I don't say that they should not go because it's probably the future, it's how it will evolve, but they should not close their eyes about what is inside their platform. Their business stay where their platform
Exactly.
is, where the user should be, and they should not think that their user are the user of ChatGPT. It would
Yeah,
be
exactly.
a misunderstanding.
Yeah, but I mean, talking about your differentiation, then I mean, if you're in a conversation with a particular customer, let's
Yep.
say one competitor of Louis Vuitton, and
Mhm.
they come up with you know relevant things that they're considering, but also possibly a couple of irrelevant things. How do you then go about say, well, I mean, you just highlighted there the conversation about the importance of keeping people on your website. Um, but what are you doing to stand out in the marketplace? That first of all, they find you in all this noise these days.
Mm. I think it will not happen so often that we will be compared to ChatGPT or the kind of application. So we will be compared to the others one,
Yeah.
the Elasticsearch, Algolia, Pinecone, Qdot, etc. The biggest difference for us will be the performance and the relevancy, because we are the only one that can answer as fast with this level of relevancy for any kind of use cases. But also because we are future-proof with all our AI capabilities today, we are capable of, in one click, to enable AI-driven search from full text search to semantic search, for example, in one click in our dashboard. And very soon, in one click, you will be able to have a chat with the same data and into your interface. So basically, what we provide is something that is super fast, super relevant, but also that is kind of future-proof.
Yeah, the simplicity as well, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this all evolves, right? Because yeah, it's evolving so fast. That I've been talking in my book about the half-life of your product shrinking every month again. The question at the end is like, what is kept these days with all the technology that's out there on the marketplace? Now, talking about your first customer, because you said we decided to go open source, we published it on Product Hunt, got a lot of reactions from it. We shipped the product. One of the first customers, or the first customer, was this brand that everybody knows, Louis Vuitton.
Mhm.
Then what happens next? Can you what did you learn from those first periods that has maybe shaped how you go to market at the end?
I think I will circle back on simplicity. I think there is a competition against few competitors, but one of the biggest is still Elasticsearch. It's the biggest in the market. The biggest issue with Elasticsearch is the complexity of first setting up the solution and then to maintain it. What we learned is that the faster you can get something that get to this hard moment in a way, faster you can get to having a user from the company that is typing a search and having some result, the better it will be. So that's why also we put a lot of pressure into simplicity, because what we understood is that being able to implement and to have a proof of how do you feel with this search experience is key.
Yeah, exactly. I like that you just use the word feel here, because
Mhm.
that's about an emotional thing.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
particularly on those sites where people are always in a rush, that yeah, you actually, if that feels all right, if it feels wow, it feels great, and what you get back, people also stay longer and buy more, particularly
Mhm.
for those e-commerce websites.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that has become sort of a flywheel that people started talking about.
Mhm.
And
Definitely, yes. And even today, we have customers such as Hugging Face, that perhaps you know, very big AI company that are developing new product on top of MeiliSearch, and every time they are releasing it on Twitter or on LinkedIn, there's a lot of people that are saying like, "What your search is so amazing!
yeah, yeah,
How is it even possible?" And now we
nice.
know that it's MeiliSearch. It's
Yeah.
confirmed.
No, but that is also how I got, yeah, how you get addicted to tools, that
Mhm.
it becomes your go-to thing. Because if it's like something else, it's harder to switch. Yeah, you don't bother. So
Mhm.
it needs to be of a magnitude better than what people have experienced so far. And I
Mhm.
think that's where technology these days can make a huge difference if you focus. Is that one of your big things that it's saying no to things to say yes to others?
It's always a thing to say no to things, and I think it's one of the most difficult part also at building a product is
Yeah.
to say no. Um, it's again a benefit of being open source is that when we say no, we can say like, hey, no for us, but perhaps someone from the community will do it. So sometimes when there is some ask, like building an integration for us, for example, if we had to build an integration for a specific tool or platform, if we don't have the knowledge internally about the language or whatever, such a pain. So we can just say no and ask to our community, like, does someone know how to integrate with this technology? And if someone says yes, we can ask them, like, can you please do an integration? Because we have a customer that is requesting it, and very often people are saying yes, or they don't have time, but still
Uh-huh.
open source and having a community that is using your product every day, or at least that have your product in production,
Yeah,
could be
that's
very
true.
helpful.
Yeah, that's of course your extended developer community that you can leverage there.
Yeah.
So I mean, do you have particular rules in your company when to say yes and when to say no? Or does it all come back to these three magic words: simplicity, performance, and relevance?
We don't have any specific rules. We are reassessing the roadmap every month with
Hmm.
a big review every quarters. We are doing a major release every 2 months. So also every time we are doing a major release, it's a way for us to look at what will be next. And we are doing now launch week. So doing a big event twice a year where we release a new thing every day. So for us, it would be also a good way to assess what we want to see coming in the next 6 months to make sure that we are not going to a path that it was not expected. Even if we can be surprised and we can have a new idea that is better and we have to go fast.
Hmm.
But for sure, everything that impacts direct users, if there is something, a quick thing that could be done, will be prioritized. But elsewhere, yes, just a proper conversation with the team.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I'm asking, of course, there will never be developers enough, possibly even not in an open source community, because I came from the ERP world, and compared to companies like SAP and Oracle, we had like a small company. But also, if you look at it, the number of developers we had for one of our products, like 300 developers, people would still say that's I wish I had that. But still, you always end up with, okay, too many things being asked, a huge backlog. So it's about choosing the right things to do. You said, I think in one of your interviews, and I think you also said it today, that the open source community is all about feedback as well.
Mhm.
So what has been a piece of feedback that was so good that sort of almost pivoted the company?
Not so good to pivot the company, but I have one example recently that helped us to create something that has never been made before. So in MeiliSearch, we have this feature that enable to move from full text search to semantic search in almost one click. So it means
Uh-huh.
that we are enabling by ourselves everything regarding generation of the embeddings, about storing it into our vector storage, what it means, etc. And when we created the issue on GitHub explaining what we would like to do, there is someone that suggests like, hey, perhaps it might be interesting to have a kind of template that explain how to translate a JSON document that is inside MeiliSearch into a text that will be used by the LLM to generate the embeddings, or by the model to generate the embeddings. And you're like, super interesting. It's a way for users to add some business logic around the document and to express what their business is to the model before generating the embeddings. Because more context you have for the models to generate the embeddings, better it will be. So it was a very good advice, something that has been like surprisingly very, very good, and that people love today.
Okay. So it's creating that impact that you talked about earlier.
Yeah, and it has been, I think it took like perhaps 2 hours to code this
Yeah.
one, but it just because someone get us the right advice or the right feedback that we were capable of doing it. And that's also the magic of open source.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's all about context and understanding, okay, what is the problem you're trying to solve here? And if people have a way of doing it the right way, magic can happen.
Mhm.
I remember a couple of those cases from my own journey there. One of the things you said, I think earlier today, you talked about, well, the things that you do for developers, then the things you do for business. For example, where scale comes in place.
Mhm.
Of course, it's also about scaling your own company.
Mhm.
And yeah, over the last 7 years, how have you managed to create more leverage in the company? Because I mean, I've seen how many people you are currently working on, and I also know that like that you have a good number of customers.
Mhm.
But it's always by finding that place. Okay, how can we do things with the same number of people and actually grow from there? Have you got any specific examples about scale that you're proud of?
Um, so I think everything is also accelerated by AI right now, that
Sure.
enable to do a lot of things with less people. But I think it's also about how do you manage people and who is on the team and how you make them being super efficient in your
Yeah.
company. It's something we are not perfect and something we will continue to work on. Enabling people is difficult. They have all a lot of talents, and the role of the company is also to make them in the right environment to express their talents. But I think being able to choose the right people, make them in the right condition is something that is super important for us. Um, Something else is that we are remote first since day one, almost day one, and it allows us also to hire very talented people across the world and not be only tied to one city or one country. And I think it made a difference. And we had a very good surprise. So being remote plus being able to plus having open source made us also hiring people from our community that are
Yeah.
first super committed to the product and company because they were already in love of the company and product before joining MeiliSearch. But also it allows us to get people, very talented people from different places that were not in very shiny company, but they were so
Mhm.
damn good.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I read a couple of things how important diversity, for example, is in your company, and I read that
Yes.
some figures around 40% or even more these days is women,
Mhm.
which is for a lot of software companies unheard of, unless you're in the Nordics. Because I mean, we acquired a company in 2000, and the CEO was on stage in front of all those people and said, we're on this journey, and more women are going to be empowered to work with us, hire you well at all levels in the company." And it was around 20% in the Netherlands and 50% in Norway. So it depends a little bit where you are,
Mhm.
but still, it's an important thing. Is that diversity also being converted into a strength of your company?
Definitely, yes. Yes. I think diversity is part of our culture, and the culture of a company is everything about the company. It's about we take decision, about how we choose the right people, etc. So definitely, having put a high effort into diversity has been key for our success because now we have also diverse opinion and we have also a very healthy working environment. And that's something very important if you want people to be able to express their best potential. Being able to have a healthy environment where everyone can talk, everyone can share whatever they have to say without being harassed or without being in fear of the comments or whatever. And for doing so, we have to be super strict about what we expect in the culture, and that's also why we included the diversity as something key
Yeah,
while hiring people, because we think that it's part of having a good, healthy company.
exactly. Do you have an example about like one of these things that you explicitly make important, or how do you? Well, because talking about, an open environment and making it easy for people to speak up and to make a comment or to judge something that they believe should be different. I mean, how do you encourage that so that it's actually lived by? Because saying is one thing and doing is the other.
So there is, for me, two components. There is the hiring process, and there is then the culture already in place.
Yeah.
For the culture already in place. There is a lot of stuff to make sure that we can have diversity included at the hub. And in MeiliSearch, we have for the work week, we have parental leave. It is the same for both sex. And we have remote, that is also something important for most of the women. Something that we didn't really choose, but it happened like this. The first two people we hired was a woman. So it created kind of day one a diverse team, and then we were capable of leveraging this to make sure that all the job description we're posting online were using the right wording, also to not target specific profile. And also, it's much more easier to hire a woman when you have other women in the hiring process, and that can say good things about stuff. And also, when you have already women in the process, they can tell if a candidate could be a bad fit or not for gender diversity issue. So the hiring process is key, and being able to be super empathic during this hiring process to know if someone will fit or not with our culture is key. And perhaps I'm wrong, but I think it's most of the people that we didn't hire on the last stage was cultural fit because of that. And like we were like, not sure it would work with our environment, or it could break the balance we have, and we don't want to break this balance.
Yeah, exactly. Very important thing. But for example, on the speak up part, or on the making sure that everybody is able to contribute in the right way at any level in the company. Have you got something in place like Fridays that you share things, or?
So first, it's important for us to have managers that are women, so to have also diversity in the leadership, because most of the communication could be made by managers. So it's important to have a leadership team that is also have some diversity. We don't have any rules to say like, hey, during our all end, we will have this amount of time spent for this or that. But it's kind of natural today. But the culture of remote asynchronous messaging and everything we are doing else just create a pace or create an environment that is healthy for this.
Yeah, exactly. Two more questions I got in relation to where you've come from and where you're going to. Over the last 7 years, how is your the definition of success changed? Because you started the company with something in mind, and now you're here. Has anything changed? And if so, what?
So first, I think there is two definitions of success: the long term and the short term. I would say that the long term never change. My goal and the goal of the company is to enable the maximum of users having a good search and being able to access the information online. That has been at the heart of everything. It's just that on the short term, and something that entrepreneurs have to deal with, we are always between the discussion with investors, the discussion with customers, with prospects and employees. So every 2 weeks, you have a different topic in mind, and you are thinking that you are doing, hey, I'm doing the company for my employee. No, I'm doing the company for my customers. And in fact, it's a mix of this that is an ecosystem that is balanced. And on the short term, I think it's the same for every entrepreneur. It could be hard to manage like the expectation and what is the goal. But when you have the capability of take a step back, going to vacation or whatever, or at least have a good weekend and resting and thinking about it, you're okay. No, in fact, my impact is about how to create a healthy ecosystem to provide something that have impact on users and customer, on people, and everything is about people.
Exactly. And once you do those things well, I mean, I always say, I applaud for those entrepreneurs that measure their success by the impact they help their customers create. And I think you're saying something in similar matters. Then the value will come your way in amounts that you cannot anticipate or forecast for your employees, for your company, and for your investors as well. So I think that's a good point to say. It's having a strong North Star or vision to come back to in terms of, okay, why are we doing this in the first place? What is the business we're really in? Good, thank you. One last question. Based on the entrepreneurial experience that you've gained now over the last 7 years, what would be a do and what would be a don't that you'd like to share with entrepreneurs in the tech world that aspire something like you?
Do stop building, go discuss with your customers, even if or your prospects, find prospect to discuss with. It's something I think YC is doing right, Y Combinator, pushing you to go discuss with customers. We didn't do YC with MeiliSearch, but it's something I think I took a bit too much time to do. I was discussing with people about the product, whatever, but no, discuss about what do they want and how much are they ready to pay for it. It's super important to have people and to have this discussion with prospect, being able to discuss about price very early on, because you don't want to have only users, you also need to have customers. And when you are developers, you can also always say like, yeah, but I just need to finish this and the product will be better and I will be able to go on the market. No. Stop doing what you are doing now and go already right now on the market. And it's a kind of a do and don't at the same time. And just make sure you're focusing on hiring the right people and fitting not only the expectation of the market in terms of hiring, but what you think you need to build your product and your company. It's
True.
Your company with your associate or with the other people already inside the company. It's your company. Choose the people you want to have next to you, because it will be like a long race and you don't want to have hassle with you.
Exactly. So last question then, where can people go to find out more about MeiliSearch or to say hi to you?
To say hi to me, to be honest, only LinkedIn. I removed all the other social network. And for the company, people can find us on LinkedIn, X, Blue Sky, and I think that's all. Or on our website, we have an agent or a chat on the website. They can contact us. And if people want to contact me directly, they can contact me at quentin@meilisearch.com.
Good. Thank you very much, Quentin. Thanks for sharing the wisdom, the journey that you've been so far through.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Sean.
And this wraps up my conversation with Quentin de Quelen, co-founder and CEO of MeiliSearch. If you got value from this episode, please share it with other SaaS founders who need to hear this as well. And if you got 10 seconds, a quick rating or review on Apple Podcasts will help more people to find these conversations. Thank you for listening to the Remarkable SaaS podcast. If you want more insights like this, subscribe to my daily email, Espresso with Ton. It's a 2-minute shot of clarity for SaaS founders who want to create pull, not push. You can sign up, along with getting my book, at valueinspiration.com. See you in the next episode.